Whether you like the president or not, what separates him from every other president is that he's not one to hold his finger to the political winds before he makes a decision. He tries to make decisions that are right, decisions that are best for you and me. They're not always popular. And of course, the most difficult ones will always be questioned. Yesterday's decision was one of them. The deal was to reopen the government through February 15th, creating a bipartisan bicameral committee tasked with negotiating an agreement on border security. The president made clear, though, he's sticking to building a barrier.
We really have no choice but to build a powerful wall or steel barrier. If we don't get a fair deal from Congress, the government will either shut down on February 15th again, or I will use the powers afforded to me under the laws and the Constitution of the United States to address this emergency.
The attacks were immediate, full bore, and relentless. Instead of giving the president credit for recognizing the damage to this country, he was attacked by virtually everyone. Instead of people saying, thank goodness someone in Washington recognizes the need to compromise, someone who actually understands the purpose of government is to serve the people. He sees people who live paycheck to paycheck having a difficult time buying groceries and paying their bills. Airports closed, preventing people from business trips, visiting family members, as well as the attendant economic hardships. And unlike the obstructionists and the Trump haters who don't give a damn about ordinary Americans, he simply couldn't let it go on. He did not cave. He made a tactical decision, a strategy decision to pick the ground to fight on. He chose to stop the fight today to fight another day. And that day will be February 15th. But of course, Chuck crowed.
Hopefully now the president has learned his lesson. No one should ever underestimate the speaker, as Donald Trump has learned.
Chuck, I hate it to break it to you. This isn't a game. It's not about underestimating people. It's about people without a paycheck, something that you're not willing to go without. And Nancy got off her broom long enough to say,
our unity is our power, and that is what maybe the president underestimated.
And Ann Coulter blasted Trump for not keeping his promise for the border wall, saying he lied.
We thought that he wouldn't care what the elites thought, and he'd actually keep his promises on this.
And he still doesn't care what the elites think. He cared about the people who, unlike you, don't have enough money to take care of their families. He couldn't tolerate airports shut down. And you want to compare him to Reagan when Reagan fired the striking air traffic controllers? Here's the difference, Ann. A president does not have the right to fire non-essential employees during a government shutdown. OPM regulations under 5 CFR Part 752. Reagan firing the air traffic controllers in 1981 because they were in violation of the law. That situation, Ann, is totally different and not analogous. Public safety workers have no right to strike. It was the same approach Calvin Coolidge took when the Boston police went on strike. These people, they don't understand Donald Trump. They just want to criticize him like they did with other non-popular decisions, like meeting with Kim Jong-un, who hasn't, by the way, launched a ballistic missile since the meeting, like the tariffs, which were unpopular but seem now to be working. Folks, the war isn't over yet. Remember, Donald Trump is a man willing to take the shots to change the norm in order to do what he thinks is best for the country. Very often, he's dead on. Closing the government tore at him. Opening it Whether it's a popular move is irrelevant in his mind. And remember, this war is not over. It's nothing but a hollow victory for the Democrats. On February 15th, if the committee does not come back with a workable solution, which would be a shock to me because Congress is certainly not about getting the job done. They've kicked the can down the road with the approval of presidents like Obama and Clinton and Bush, with no one looking to actually get something done. This president could do the same thing. I believe he will not, because another continuing resolution is not his style. I believe the president will call for emergency funding for the wall. He's tried everything else. The only thing I would ask is that he make sure it doesn't get to the Ninth Circuit, a.k.a. the Ninth Circus. The idea of Congress going on yet another vacation the day after February 15th, with all of this unsettled, without any kind of resolution, is just another reminder to the American people of what Congress cares about: themselves, their vacations, and the lobbyists who fund those vacations. But I'm here to tell you, never underestimate this president. This president lives to fight another day. And that's my open.